In a previous video, we looked at how BigCommerce for WordPress can be extended through custom plugins. In this video, we're going to create one of those plugins. Once we're finished, our sample plugin will hide product categories from the site navigation based on the current customer's group settings. We already have one function that checks the current version of BigCommerce and deactivates our plugin if the version is too low. Let's first work on a function that will override the default customer group ID. This function will hook to the filter we looked at in the last video, BigCommerce/customer/group_ID. This filter provides two arguments, one for the group ID and a second for the customer data. The only time we want to change this group ID is when our customer's current customer ID is 0. In other words, when we have no customer. In this case, we want to set the group ID to 6 for this particular store. After this, we want to return the group ID. Otherwise, we would break this filter entirely. Next, we need to modify the WordPress nav menu. We can do this using the filter WP nav menu objects. This filter also provides two arguments, one for the menu items and another for the complete menu arguments. Before we can do anything else, we need to get the current user's ID and see if they're a customer. WordPress makes this first part easy with the Get Current User ID helper function. We can use this to create a new customer object from the user ID and use that to try and get their group data. If anything goes wrong here, we can catch the error and display it on the site. Now we can dig into the meat of the function, removing any menu items that should be hidden to the current visitor. The easiest method is to run array filter on the menu items with an anonymous function. This function will accept the menu item as input, and we can tell it to use both the current user ID and the customer group info. Inside the filter, we'll use a conditional so that we only manipulate the BigCommerce category menu items. For everything else, we'll return true and keep it in the list. When we're looking at a BigCommerce category, the first thing we want to do is access its term meta and use that to get its BigCommerce category ID. Next, we need to work through each of the conditions I described below to verify a customer can see this category. We'll call this first condition access is blank and check for an empty value on our customer group info for the category access key. Our next condition checks if the customer has access to all categories. Let's call this condition access all. First, we'll check for a set value on the customer group info category access type. And specifically, we want to know if all is the value of the category access type. Our final condition is the most complex. We need to check if the customer has access to this specific category. So we'll name the condition access specific. Just like the last condition, we'll first check for a set value on the customer group info category access type. And we want to know if specific is the value of this category access type. And then we want to see if the current category ID is in the array of categories this customer can access. Finally, we can return each of our conditions. If the customer's category access is blank, or they can access all categories, or they can access this specific category, if any of these conditions returns true, the item will stay in the menu. If all of them are false, the item will be removed. And this is everything our plugin needs. So now we can go to the admin area and activate it and test the behavior. As you're working on your own plugin, you can utilize our developer documentation and the documented code base itself to better familiarize yourself with the capabilities and possibilities of BigCommerce for WordPress. The developer documentation for WordPress will also be an indispensable resource as you go about utilizing hooks, modifying templating behavior, and more. And check out our other videos to learn how to make the most of BigCommerce for WordPress and further customize it to suit your needs.